Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Thomas. Tonight we're here with the life and times of King Louis XIV. Before you guys know, this ain't the king that would come before Louis XVI. Apparently that was his father, the beloved. So this is the Sun King, which, if you guys remember, was during the Affair of the Poisons. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And apparently this one's called How the Dance Floor Changed Feudalism Forever, which I'm guessing is something to do with those wild parties the French aristocrats were known to throw. I'm actually kind of curious about all this, so let's hop in and find out. So be sure to like Scott for more. Hope you enjoy. Let's check it out.
Feudalism was dying. In the age of globe-spanning colonial empires, commercial printing, and the scientific revolution, the idea of a state held together by a myriad of personal arrangements between ruler and nobility was beginning to show its age, and those who could not adapt would be left behind. But history is not a straight road into the future. It is a hydra-like network of half-worn paths mired in shade and brambles. Take, for instance, Great Britain, where the rights and privileges of the king were so contentious as to drive the kingdom into civil war and begin the gradual transfer of power from sovereign to parliament. And then there was the French method.
Can't wait to hear this story.
Your Majesty, it's 3 in the morning.
Yes, I'm very busy, dear. You remember that gift card to Magellan TV you bought me for Christmas? They added a new documentary series about the Stuart dynasty.
You sure you don't want your Minister of War to take a look at that for you?
No, that's just the problem. The nobles are all watching too. I must be one step ahead of them in case they get any ideas.
Sounds a bit dry.
No, never. They've
right.
actually done something quite interesting. They're tracking the story of a lesser Welsh family and laying it in parallel. Quite novel.
May I watch?
Get your own subscription. Go to MagellanTV.com/Jack Rackam and watch any of their 3,000 documentaries for free, or pick up another gift card. Just leave me be. Oh, James, you contemptible fool. Louis. The zenith, the very face of absolute monarchy in Europe. Where could he have gotten such a big ego? It's a boy!
This one's alive?
It's alive!
Hey.
I will call you Louis, the gift of God. And you see, you can do whatever you like, because God has chosen you to be the master of his creations. It is your right as king to never hear the word N-O.
I'm sure it won't go to his head. Despite what his mother would have him believe, the king was not very popular. The aristocracy was not very happy to hear about all of this absolute monarchy business, and the bourgeoisie was not very happy about all the taxes they had to pay to cover for the 30 years war that just ended. Things got hairy. I can't hold them back much longer. We demand to see the king! Your Grace, I'm afraid there's no choice. The king will have to listen to what they want. Oh, isn't he precious? Move over! Right, sorry. Have a great night.
You're leaving?
Yeah, it's getting pretty late. Thanks for letting us see the king. Oh, there he is. It'd be a shame if we ever came back here and were angrier than we are right now. We'd probably do some terrible things.
Got swords.
Where are we going? Anywhere but Paris.
Guillotines! Get your guillotines here!
Yeah, give it
France just isn't ready for you, my love. The royal family...
yeah, true. That'd be a few more decades, I think. That's ironic. Anywho, moving on.
Ended up fighting 2 civil wars called the Frond. I'll be honest, there's a lot I don't know about the Fronds. I'd love to revisit this time period eventually. I think it's really interesting how England and France both fought a civil war contesting power between the nobility and the monarchy in the same decade, and yet one led to regicide and Cromwell, while the one in France seemed to be a blip on the radar. Hi, it's me. I referenced the English Civil War a couple of times. I heard you typing. I realized nobles fought on both sides and that Cromwell abolished the House of Lords, and I think maybe the English Bill of Rights might have had a more immediate influence on the powers of the king. I haven't studied 17th century England in any great detail. I'm just pointing out some patterns that seem similar to me. It was a big deal for Louis, though, being chased out of his home as a child, and really helped to cement his mindset of don't trust the nobility, don't trust the peasants, absolute power for me. Good people, law and order has been returned to France.
Sure about
now
that?
We're gonna need some new management around here to make sure this doesn't happen again. I've just got 3 little rules. Ow! Number 1, I expect your loyalty. Number 2, woo! Don't step on my groove. That means you, Fouquet, I see you. You think your parties are better than mine, you catty. Oof. I've got so much dirt on you, you can see it from space. Number 3, don't look at the man in the iron mask. Who? He's locked away, Colbert, deep in the dungeon. He can't show his face. It would spell doom for the House of Bourbon if you saw his face, Colbert. Oh, the things he's seen. If you knew who he really was, don't ask about the man in the iron mask, Colbert. There's a popular story that Louis had a twin brother who was the rightful king of France, and so he threw him into the deepest, darkest dungeon in the country and locked his face inside of an iron mask so that no one could ever see what he looked like. Except the man in the iron mask was probably a guy who wore a cloth mask a couple of times when he was being exchanged between prisons. My favorite theory is that the warden put the mask on him because he wanted to make everyone who saw him wonder, wow, who's that super important prisoner whose face we can't see that the warden's got with him? Wow, what a cool warden. So anyway,
So basically, he just did for cred. Okay. And then I'll travel back to the king and a long-lost rightful twin. Wow. Oof. Okay, not sure. Do you think he actually bought it or what? Kind of curious what Louis thought of the rumors. Be like, let him gossip. It's fine. I like to know. Anyway.
Louis found himself in a position not dissimilar from Ivan the Terrible of Russia, what with the nobles and the public handing over power to the king for the sake of stability. But where Ivan went violent, Louis went in another direction. Feudalism is what we in the science biz call an unstable equilibrium. See, with feudalism, there's really no such thing as a national army. You're a lord, you have your own army and your own land, but there are 1,000 other lords, and if any of them teamed up, they could kill you pretty easily. So rather than spend your life playing 1,000 player Risk, you cozy up to the biggest, most powerful lord and ask if he'll use his army to fight anyone if they attack you. He says, what's in it for me? You tell him he can use your army if you're not using it, and he gets to call himself a king. If you're a lord, that's great. If you're a king, that's pretty good. You get to be king, but you still have the problem that there are 1,000 lords who each have an army. Your army might be bigger than anybody else's, but it's not bigger than everybody else's. Historically, there have been many ways of resolving this. In England, the lords kind of developed a class consciousness, killed the king, got into a messy civil war, and then the king came back, but they stuck the course and stole the monarchy's power so the parliament can be in charge. If you're Louis XIV watching all of that happening across the channel, that's bad. So you could do what the Chinese did and issue a big standardized test to the entire country, but that's kind of complicated. France isn't that big. What if all the lords just moved in with you? I'm sure they can get by ruling their lands by proxy, but you'd need a really big house. Oh wait, Versailles! You can't talk about Louis XIV without talking about Versailles. If the king has absolute power, and you want to become rich and powerful, you need the king to like you. If you need the king to like you, you need to be close to the king. So Louis created lots of opportunities for his nobles to get close to him. Greetings, Your Majesty. Howdy! I hope you came ready to party because we're going all night long! Hey, that! And if you really want to be close to the king, if you want one-on-one time alone with him, then you need to be the guy who gets his slippers in the morning or the guy who wipes his bum in the loo. Now, Louis didn't abolish feudalism. That wouldn't happen for another century, but he did fundamentally change the relationship between the king and nobility. Louis created a system where all of the really old, powerful noble families were competing with each other for ceremonial titles that gave them the distinguished privilege to fetch his slippers. Meanwhile, he started filling all of the important jobs with minor nobles or people who weren't nobles at all, and who therefore owed their jobs not to family lineage, but to the king himself. It sounds like Louis duped a bunch of doofuses into role-playing Mean Girls, but really, if you were a noble, Wouldn't you want to spend all your time partying in the fanciest palace ever built? Turns out you can make anybody happy with enough bread and circuses. Sometimes you just
True.
gotta upgrade to ballrooms and caviar. With all of this new power, Louis made a bunch of new laws to create some uniformity throughout the kingdom and to give himself some ecclesiastical power as well. Louis's relationship with the church was an interesting one. He was very into Catholicism, and yet very not into the Pope. Any messages from the French clergy to the Pope had to go through him first, and any messages from the Pope also had to go through him because he gave himself the power
he's the middleman
to
between the
veto
Pope and the people of
But
France.
more than anything, I think he just enjoyed discriminating against Protestants. France is a Catholic nation. If you don't like it, you can get out. Message from the king. Oh, thank you. Wait, stop! You're not allowed to leave either! Louis turned around his finances by taxing the aristocracy with loopholes, hence the whole 1789 revolution, as well as just being better about how he collected taxes. And with that money, he fronted a new army led by officers who showed some degree of merit. Would you look at that? Lots of money and a big army. Yes, now all is revealed. The true purpose of all of this. Securing power and bolstering the economy were great, but they were also to be employed for France's true purpose, declaring war on the rest of Europe. For glory! Louis is the center of France. Now France must be the center of the world. What followed was a lifetime of warfare that accomplished honestly very little. It began with the Dutch. Louis once had a great relationship with the Netherlands. France had fought for decades to secure their independence from the Habsburgs. But you see, part of the Netherlands still belonged to Spain, and Louis used a bunch of, royal dynastic family tree inheritance chicanery to take part of the Spanish Netherlands for himself. And this was kind of an economic affront to the Dutch Netherlands. You could argue whether or not it was better to sabotage such an alliance for the sake of expansion, but I think that's missing the point. You see, when it comes to the kings of France, above any strategic considerations, above any treaties, above any moral virtues, above even the laws of Moses, there are two supreme and co-equal commandments. Stick it to the English and stick it to the Habsburgs. So realizing that Louis is totally going to go ahead with this conquering business anyway, the Netherlands makes some new allies with England and Sweden and gets ready to go to war with France. And Louis, bless his soul, he really goes ahead with the most straightforward possible solution.
You said double Dutch, not double cross the Dutch.
It's actually super easy, trust me. How dare you? All I'm asking is for you to stay neutral. You can do that for me, can't you? We're both going to hell for this, but don't expect England to give in so easily.
Yeah, sounds about right.
I'll pay you to stay out of the war. Sweet, no problem. I'll pay you more if you attack the Netherlands. Nice. And you have to become Catholic. Well, okay. Louis continued to get away with little wars like this, here and there, taking advantage of intentionally vague treaties and inheritances and whatnot, all the while making enemies out of nearly everyone in Western Europe, until he finally bit off more than he could chew. There were a couple of succession disputes in Germany where Louis wanted to install someone on his side, but he knew that getting involved in a war with the Holy Roman Empire, aka the Habsburgs, would mean war with Britain and Spain and the Netherlands and Portugal and Sweden and parts of Italy. It's nuts. But at that very moment, the Netherlands leader, William of Orange, was busy invading Britain to become the new king, so Louis figured if he was quick enough, he could go into Germany, win the war before William and his allies had time to come help. What he hadn't counted on was the fact that the English were positively stoked about being invaded. They honestly did not care if their king was British as long as he wasn't Catholic.
Wow.
So, the Holy Roman Empire and Britain and Spain and the Netherlands and Portugal and Sweden and parts of Italy all jump into the war against France. And despite the war being incredibly lopsided, France actually comes out the other end with more territory than when it began.
Really?
But at the end of the day, it still cost 9 years of fighting, and everyone agreed. Never again! To peace in Europe! To peace in Europe! Oh, we've finally done it! Spain, are you all right? You look, well, worse than usual.
I'm dying, Louis.
Oh, dear. Your poor children.
There are no children, Louis.
But that means... Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Not again.
What's the matter? Leopold, Holy Roman Emperor, the next king of Spain. He's either going to be your son... Oh! Or mine. The balance of power, Louis! The balance of power! I know! There must be another option. Think, darn it! I've got it! The Holy Roman Emperor. He has a grandson, Joseph Ferdinand, through his daughter. You want to give Spain to the Habsburgs? They're Habsburgs already. This is just another spin-off branch. Spain and the Holy Roman Empire will never be united. I want some of their land in Italy. We split the land in Italy, 50-50 between you and Emperor Leopold. The rest goes to Joseph Ferdinand. Deal. Shut up, Spain! No one asked you! Except then, Joseph Ferdinand dies. And, the clock is ticking. I can't figure out what's wrong with him! Just keep him breathing! Peace in Europe depends on it!
Give Spain to the French.
No, the Austrians! French! Austrians! There's still time for a son! Madam, you have to undress. He's half cadaver! It's all right, I've got his legs. Okay, new plan. I've derived a formula that outlines the relative strength of every European nation. We've got to get this right! We divide all the Spanish holdings between Leopold's younger son and your grandson, so neither will inherit two crowns. Archduke Charles will receive the Spanish mainland and the New World colonies. He'd better take the Spanish Netherlands as well. I'll take all the Italian holdings, trade Lorraine for Milan. We're still off. Aha! If I transfer Naples and Sicily to Sardinia in exchange for Nice and Savoy, then I'll just need one small county from Spain proper. By Jove. I think we've done it! Why wasn't Austria involved in all of this calculus? Beats me. The King of Spain, however, still refuses to divide the empire, and his wife tips the scales in favor of giving it all to the Austrians. Except psych, on his deathbed, he changes his mind and gives everything to Louis's grandson. What a relief! Now, we can put our plan into motion and divide the empire according to the treaty we signed. You're going to divide it, right? There's going to be war either way. Just think of the possibility. After all, what is diplomacy? Take it all. Louis declares that his grandson will inherit everything. And also that his grandson can still inherit France as well if things shake out that way.
God damn it,
And
Louis.
also, France is in charge of the transatlantic slave trade for Spanish colonies. And also, he no longer recognizes William as the King of England. Tee-hee! France goes to war with pretty much all of Western Europe again. And the way it ends is super awkward. The Allies give Louis a real whooping, and then demand that he declare war on his grandson to get him off of the Spanish throne while they all watch. And if he doesn't win the war in a year, the Allies aren't going to join him in fighting Spain. They're just going to restart the war against France. The only reason they stopped fighting is not because France was strong enough to enforce its claim, or because the Allies were strong enough to enforce their claim.
Why'd they stop?
The Holy Roman Emperor just died at a really bad time, and now the younger son who was going to inherit Spain is also the heir to the Habsburg monarchy / Holy Roman Empire, and it would be super uncomfortable if he somehow inherited both. So yeah, totally. He was, still the one true king of Spain, and his claim is super legitimate. It's just, we're not gonna fight for you anymore. The math shifted, balance of power and all that. And then Louis got gangrene and died.
Well, that's finally over with. Jesus Christ. That was a headache and a half, I gotta say. Was anyone else able to follow that? Or let me know what part you got lost in. What the heck? Yeesh, kind of glad feudalism is not really around a lot anymore. Thank God. So for now, that's gonna be it for me. So thanks for watching. Till next time, like, subscribe for more. Good night, everybody.